20 people, including 5 journalists, were killed in an Israeli attack at a hospital in southern Gaza. There were 2 strikes yesterday morning. Journalists and emergency responders had rushed to the building just moments after the first blast. Then, moments later, a second strike occurred. Most of the 5 journalists killed were freelancers. Some of them worked for the Associated Press, Al Jazeera, and Reuters. In a statement, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the attack a tragic mishap, adding that investigation will be conducted. But Reuters and the Associated Press are demanding more answers. In a letter to Israeli officials, the news outlets called for a clear explanation for the attack, writing in part, "We are outraged that independent journalists were among the victims of this strike on the hospital, a location that is protected under international law. Unfortunately, we have found the IDF's willingness and ability to investigate itself in past incidents to rarely result in clarity and action, raising serious questions, including whether Israel is deliberately targeting live feeds in order to suppress information," Joe.
Yeah, and Jonathan, yesterday when you reported this news, you had an interview and you heard that it was actually the strike was on a stairwell, the second strike, where journalists, our reporter said, where journalists usually went. So they could get a signal to send out their stories.
And to that point, so Reuters had a live feed from the hospital after the first strike. It, of course, went dark when the second rocket hit. Molly Hunter from NBC brought us that news from Jerusalem yesterday, saying that, yes, first of all, let's remember, of course, that outside journalists not allowed into Gaza. The IDF has not allowed the eyes and ears of the world to be there. Other war zones, Afghanistan, Vietnam, the like, there's always that outside media presence not being permitted here in Gaza. So therefore, outlets have to rely on local journalists, freelancers like those who were killed yesterday. And after the first strike, a number of them, as well as, we should say, rescue workers came to that hospital and were there when the second one landed. And we have now had, Mika, well north of 200, I believe almost 250 journalists killed in their enclave since the beginning of the war.
So we have information about the 5 journalists killed in Gaza. Mariam Daga was a visual journalist working as a freelancer for the Associated Press and other news outlets. She had been with the AP since the war started in October of 2023. According to the news outlet, Daga based herself at the hospital where the strike occurred, reporting on starving and malnourished children. She was 33 years old. Hussam Al-Masri was a contracted cameraman for Reuters. He was near a live broadcasting position when the first strike hit. Moaz Abu Taha was also a freelance journalist for Reuters. Mohammed Salama was a cameraman for Al Jazeera. He had been with the organization since the start of the war. According to Al Jazeera, Salama was engaged and was planning to get married after the war. And Ahmed Aziz was a freelance journalist who filed dozens of reports for the news outlet Middle East Eye.
Mike Barnicle, this war just continues. And it's a war that continues a year after Israel's own military experts and generals were saying there's no need for this war to continue. There is no reason. There are no more our military objectives to reach. There are no more intelligence objectives that we can reach. It's a law of diminishing returns. And yet this continues. Journalists continue to be shut out of this area, international journalists. So people that will defend Israel no matter what Israel does can say, oh, well, those are just, reports from Hamas, or those are just reports from, quote, health officials. No, they're not. They're reports from the International Red Cross, from the United Nations, from other organizations, Doctors Without Borders, other organizations that have been allowed in there. And yet here you have people that were working on the ground because the IDF and Israel, Netanyahu's government, are barring the press from going into Gaza, and this happens.
Joe, in addition to the enormous human tragedy that we're talking about right now and that occurred just a couple of days ago, this is a tragedy for Israel as a whole.
Yes, it is.
A global tragedy for Israel. Israel needs friends. It has always needed friends. But under Bibi Netanyahu and the conduct of the IDF in waging this war against Hamas, Israel is winning no friends. It's losing friends rapidly. And the idea that the IDF is continuing to wage war against Hamas under the goal of, as Bibi Netanyahu has pointed out, eliminating Hamas. You're never going to eliminate Hamas. It's not going to happen. And the reason it's not going to happen is because of the constant warfare against Hamas in Gaza. You've earned another generation's contempt of Palestinians toward Israel.
Beyond contempt. And you talk about losing an entire generation, Jonathan, a generation of American support is being lost. This is not, that people can't say, oh, this anti-Semitism, oh, this because people hate Israel. No, America has been Israel's steadfast ally. You look at the data, the strong data, and look and see what's happened. And those numbers are changing dramatically every day. Older people like us, I'll just speak for myself, born Israel supporters will remain Israel supporters. But again, deeply critical Israel supporters, because I know, and so many other of my friends know, all of this is bad for Israel's long-term health. It's bad for their standing in the region, for their standing in the world, and most importantly for Israel, for their standing with their most important ally, the United States of America.
Yeah, that's right. It was obviously a flashpoint during the 2024 election, but polls since then have shown Americans, both parties, growing less and less, willing to ally themselves with what Israel is doing and support for Israel. And as a final note, Mariam Daga, we mentioned the AP journalist who was killed, her byline just a couple of days ago about the malnourished children being taken to that very hospital. So those are the stories that we wouldn't know otherwise. It's because of work of people like her who were killed yesterday.
It's a terrible tragedy. Let's go to Israel, where we find NBC News international correspondent Molly Hunter live in Jerusalem. Molly, what more do we know about what happened at that hospital yesterday?
Willie, I just want to start by saying that I'm really proud and I really respect Mika just running through all 5 of those names. These are our colleagues. These are our peers. And it is important to not only put their pictures, their stories, but their names on screen for our audience. I also want to make a note, and Jonathan just did this really well, is that we are not allowed into Gaza as international journalists. And it's not for lack of trying. We have raised hell. We have signed petitions. We have repeatedly asked the Israeli military. You heard Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu even 2 weeks ago say that, yes, he thinks that he is going to allow international journalists at some point, and that has not happened. And so the result of that is that we rely very heavily, entirely on independent journalists who are in Gaza, and specifically the AP and Reuters, of course. NBC News, like many big international news organizations, are subscribers. And so the only reason that we have so much video, Willie, and Jonathan and Mika and Joe, of yesterday's attack is because there were journalists there, because there was a Reuters live feed trained on that staircase after that first strike. And the other thing I want to make, the other point I want to make about these independent journalists working, and they have been tirelessly for 22 months, is they're not immune from these struggles and the risks that the rest of the Gazan population faces. It's not like there's a special safe area that they can go to work. It's not like there's a special stash of food that they have access to. So these guys are starving, are working around the clock, are looking for food and safe places like this staircase attached to a hospital to send video, to get that reporting around to the rest of the world. And we have a lot of respect for all of those journalists who are still doing that. You guys, the only other point that I want to make after going through the Israeli press this morning and reading all of the military reporters kind of using leaks in their government reporting and how it's being framed here is that it is being framed as a massive mistake. And you guys already put that joint letter from the AP and Reuters up on screen. But the big question and the international outrage and criticism, and the criticism, of course, from these news organizations that lost reporters and photographers yesterday, is if it was a mistake, which is how it is being framed in Israeli media, if that first strike was a mistake, why was there a second? And I think that is the question that will keep dogging the Israeli military until they answer it in the next couple of days.
That's exactly right, Molly. And as those rescuers, as those journalists were rushing to the scene of the first strike, Prime Minister Netanyahu calling it a tragic mishap. NBC's Molly Hunter in Jerusalem. Thanks so much.
And coming up,